Hey everybody, and welcome to our early comics review video. I'm Andy.
I'm Matt.
We're here with Infinity Flux Comics out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, and this is our big show where we show you some of the biggest and best books that are releasing this Wednesday. So you can go ahead and head on over to infinityflux.net and you can order the books. They are live there right now while supplies last, so you don't have to worry about them running out on Wednesday.
Because these are going to run out. I think a lot of these are going to
Yeah, there's some big ones this week. This was an unexpectedly big week. We went into it thinking it's not going to be that bad, and it's maybe one of the bigger ones we've had. So gear in, buckle up, and get ready for some comics. Some great stuff coming out this week. So let's get into it with a big old number one.
Yeah, we've got
a big Green Lantern, and once you read it, you'll understand why.
That's right. Yeah, we have Absolute Green Lantern number one. This is the last of the new batch of Absolute books. We know there's still two more coming. We don't know what they are yet, but this is the last of the next wave. And for my money, this is my favorite of the three new ones. I love this. So this is written by Al Ewing. The art is by Janoy Lindsay. And this issue starts with a bang. We see Hal Jordan walking down the road, looking very distressed, when a police officer approaches him, asking him, "Hey, why are you walking down the road in the middle of the summer in the heat?" And the cop notices that Hal's hand is in his pocket, in his left pocket, and he won't take it out. And let's just say that because of that, the situation escalates very quickly. So Hal goes on to a roadside diner and sees a report on TV about something disastrous that has happened to his hometown of Evergreen, Nevada. I won't tell you too much about that, but we do see what that disaster is in this big double-page spread.
It was in the preview of the last week's books.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So you saw the big thing in the middle of the town. I won't say it just in case you haven't seen it. But after that, the time jumps backwards a couple days before all that happened, and we see Hal and Joe Mullen and John Stewart all having lunch together. And that scene kind of helps establish where these characters are in this new universe.
Hal's job is something that I would never pin on Hal Jordan.
He's not a fighter pilot.
I would be very interested to learn as we go forward if there's anything behind what his job is.
Yeah. They also do mention Guy Gardner, so Guy Gardner is also part of this universe.
Sounds like maybe he's a police officer.
Yeah, something like that.
But we don't know. We don't see him.
Yeah. And then so we see this big disastrous thing that happened to their town. We see it from their point of view because they're sitting right there in a diner when it happens, and they go out to investigate. I don't want to tell you too much about it though, but there's some weirdness.
Very weird.
Because maybe they're the only ones who can see it, which is crazy because it devastated half the town. But that part's a little bit unclear, and we see ultimately what happens to Hal from that. We don't know how that happened to Hal yet. We also do see
Hal Jordan.
And then we also do see that Joe Mullen has gone through a bit of a change as well, but we also don't know how that happened as well. So lots of questions after this first one, but I'm into it. Like, I really want to learn more about this. There's also another well-known character from Green Lantern lore who shows up in this, who looks remarkably different than they normally look like. In the regular universe, and I can't wait to find. We only see them on one page, though. I don't know how they figure in. What are they doing? That kind of thing. So lots and lots of questions, but in a good way. Like, it's a big mystery, and I very much want to learn more about it. I have a feeling that maybe this is going to be one of those where we need the issue number 2 to fill in, because Andy and I have read Absolute Flash number 2 already, and that really helps to fill in a lot of the blanks that we had with Absolute Flash number 1. So I'm thinking this might be the same way, where after we see issue number 2, it'll make number 1 make a bit more sense.
Yeah, and I read earlier today Absolute Martian Manhunter number 2, and it does that as well. It does fill in like, hey, here's a little bit more what this series is going to be like. So I feel like with these 3 books, these are very much built on like the first part of the story is issue 1 and 2.
Yeah, right.
And also, we both have read this issue now twice with a pretty big gap between. We read it initially like a month or so ago, and then rereading it I was like, oh, I'm picking up stuff that I missed.
Uh-huh.
Kind of like I'm not so. It's like when you see a movie for the second time. I'm not as overwhelmed trying to keep up with the story. I'm now noticing some little things. It's like, oh, okay, now that's interesting.
Yeah.
What's that mean?
And the same thing happened with Absolute Martian Manhunter. Once we read it for the second time, I definitely picked up on a lot more stuff the second time around. So yeah, I picked up on some more stuff in here that I didn't pick up on the first time. So maybe read it and then read it again, maybe a day later after you've processed it a little bit. But I mean, what is going on? I don't know, but I can't wait to find out because there's so much cool stuff in here.
I do say the art in this is very unique. I feel like these three are maybe the most distinct out of the Absolute books, whereas Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman are all have their own style, but they do come across very kind of traditional superhero art. This I feel like goes more of a almost a manga style a little bit, especially the eyes. The lines are a little scratchier. The colors are a little bit looser, and I really liked it because I felt like this is distinct from the other ones, and I really liked the art in it. It took a second to get used to, and then once I got into it, I really liked it.
Yeah, so again, my favorite of the three new Absolute books, I think it's fantastic. So I think, if you're a fan of the new Absolute, of all of the Absolute books, any of the Absolute books, you owe it to yourself to try this one out too. Because, we're going to, hopefully find out soon just what the heck is going on. So we got our A cover right here. And we've got a lot of cool variants for this too. We have this Ryan Benjamin variant, and Joe Mullen is going to be the main Green Lantern in this, I believe. But Hal Jordan definitely has a role to play, and they didn't introduce John Stewart for no reason. I hope you guys can hear me. My mic was pointed away this whole time. So so Joe Mullen's going to be the main Green Lantern, and she looks awesome in this. I love her look in this.
Yeah, even though they say that she's going to be the main Green Lantern, this first issue is a Hal Jordan issue.
Right. Oh,
he's
definitely.
He's on way more pages than anyone else.
For sure. This is the Raphael Albuquerque variant with Joe Mullen. We have I always flip the wrong way. This is the Esad Ribic cover. I haven't seen him do some DC in a while.
Yep.
So all these have Joe Mullen. So this is the Juliet NECA variant. So all these have Joe Mullen, but again, Hal Jordan is in this 99% of the time in the first issue. We have our blank sketch variant. We have a really cool virgin foil variant of the A cover. Really nice there. I like this one a lot. They've done these for all the books. This is the foil logo variant. That looks a little different than your standard Green Lantern logo. And we have this one in, this is probably a 1 in...
It says on the...
Oh, does it? Oh, a 1 in 25 by Martin Simmons. Right there, that we're selling for $18.99. I like the glow of the moon or whatever that is back there.
That's when you read it, that is a reoccurring thing that
maybe that's not
in it.
Yeah, maybe that's not the moon, but you do see a weird circular shape multiple times in this. Huh. I didn't notice that till now.
Yeah, that's one of the things I noticed second time through was like, oh, there's a reoccurring theme here.
Yeah.
Okay, well, if I can get through this without sneezing, we have Daredevil Cold Day in Hell #1. This is big. This is going to be a 3-issue miniseries, and this is by Charles Soule, and the art is by Steve McNiven. So it's really cool. This is a very different style for Steve McNiven than like Old Man Logan. But it does have a lot of those same feel. Also, it's great to have Charles Soule back on Daredevil.
Yeah.
I mean, he hasn't been gone that long from it, but still, he has such a great voice for this character. So, this was originally supposed to come out, I think, in 2022, and they were working on it back in like 2019.
Yeah, it's been a while. Isn't there something in the back?
There's a big letter that talks about it because I remember people asking about this for literal years, and it's kind of one of those like, this is in its own universe. Don't worry about what number Marvel universe this is. This is just a kind of a Elseworld type tale. This is set in the future. Matt Murdock in this is in his mid-60s, is what they say. They don't say it outright, but they mention it in the end. And this world that he's in has clearly been through some Marvel-level events. Stuff has went down in the intervening years in the city. He's in New York City, but it's grown even more. It's more overcrowded. It's a little dirtier. There's a couple more checkpoints you got to go through. It's not quite to like Blade Runner levels, but you can see like this is definitely a much denser version of New York that he's in. But the other big thing that's happened to Matt Murdock is since he's gotten older, his powers have basically faded away with time. And there's even a moment where he does talk to somebody, and there was some big Marvel event that happened, but he was like, I wasn't even a part of that because my powers have faded by that point.
Yeah, so. That's the thing is like this is set after like some big war happened, and we don't really know what. We do see that one of the bridges into New York has been completely destroyed. Yeah. There's a pillar, and there are signs that says never forget, never surrender, never forget. And so I don't know what it was, and I don't know if we'll ever know, but yeah, some big war happened and wiped out. I don't know if some heroes died during it or what, but this definitely is not a bright and shiny world now.
So it's interesting. We do. I won't tell you who, but in the beginning we do see Daredevil visiting a grave of someone, and it does take you a minute to figure out who he's kind of talking to at that point. But I thought that was really cool. But we do kind of get back into he's just living a normal life now. He uses his cane to get around the city. He's still a very generous person, which I love. That once his powers kind of went away, he just kind of reverted back to being like, I'm just I help the people who need helping. He runs a soup kitchen. Yep. Just kind of a classic Matt Murdock stuff, which is great. I think maybe he's a priest. I think at some point they might mention that that's his job again. But all is not well, and you do get some kind of hints about what's going on in the world, but it's through little news flashes or things he just picks up here and there. But we know the city's not super safe, and I don't want to get into too much what happens, but there is an attack very close to Matt that is going to change the course of his life once again. Mm-hmm. We do see some other characters. Not a whole lot, but familiar faces in the Marvel Universe. And Matt will soon learn that there is something big going on, kind of behind the scenes, almost like since he's been out of the hero game. Something's been going on for a long time that I think they say it reaches really high and really far back.
Yes, there's something major going on. We get hints that. Well, there's something big going on. Because the attack is an explosion in a subway, and that's really where the book starts. Yeah. Like that's really where the story gets going. The first half is just kind of like introducing us to the state of the world now, but then there's an explosion, and then the story gets going, and that's where. Yeah, and there's clues that hey, maybe this wasn't just some random explosion. Maybe there's more to it.
Yeah, there's some gangs, some groups that are talked about that maybe are behind this, but we'll soon learn that there's a lot going on. I will say, which, you kind of wonder with a story like this, like, oh, it's Daredevil, but, it's Matt Murdock and everything. There is Daredevil in this. Mm-hmm. I won't tell you how or why or anything like that, but Daredevil is in this. And it's not a spoiler because he's on covers of his, like, new suit that's all, like, stitched up and everything. But you will have to read it to find out how any of this happens. There are some very shocking, like, I would almost say this is like DC's Black Label or something. Or
this could be a Black Label if Marvel had Black Label.
Yeah. There's some things you see that are not super like over the top gruesome, but just very disturbing.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they're gonna. There's some things that I don't know if they're gonna return to, but very interesting now. Being like, what's going on with everybody? Yeah. Oh, not good things.
Yeah.
But I really like this first issue. It felt very complete, even though it doesn't like wrap up the story, but it doesn't feel like it just gave you a little bit and left. It's a meaty story, even in the first issue, which is good because it's only 3 issues long. But I don't want to give anything else away about it, but definitely this is going to be one of those ones that when someone says, I want to read a Daredevil story, this is going to be a good like trade to point at and be like, there's a complete Daredevil story that is very unique, very much Old Man Logan, Dark Knight Returns,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of older retired superhero maybe has to get back into the game.
Yeah.
So very cool issue number one.
Yeah. I liked it a lot too. I thought this was really cool. Like it lived up to all my expectations for sure.
It's I think it uses, to get artsy and nerdy on it, he talks about he used a 16 panel grid, which doesn't mean there's 16 panels on every page, but it basically means you can break it up, like combine these two, that makes one.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of panels per page, or it's a pretty dense book.
Yeah.
But it does give you that feeling like you're reading a Watchmen or a Dark Knight Returns or something, that this is different than your mainstream Daredevil book or superhero book. So there is your A cover. We've got some great variants for this. So we've got, of course, a Frank Miller, one of the most classic of Daredevils. We have a Lionel Francis Yu variant. We have a Rose Besh. I really like that one. It's almost like stained glass.
Yeah.
We have a I believe this has been Harvey. Incentive variant for this is a 1 in 25. We're selling for $14.99. And then we have a Frank Miller 1 in 50. We're selling for $54.99. Kind of a virgin version of that one variant.
Yeah, that one's all right. I like that one.
Yeah.
Okay. Next up, we've got Absolute Superman number 6, and I absolutely love this one. So this is the this is kind of the, like all the Absolute books are doing, all of the original ones. There's like a little, well, I think there's like a 2-issue little mini story arc between big story arcs, because this one it's written by Jason Aaron, but the art is by Carmine Di Giandomenico instead of Rafa Sandoval. And I love this one because at long last we finally get the story of Kal-El's journey to Earth and his time on the Kent farm, which we've only just speculated about up to this point. So this issue picks up right where the last one left off, with Kal-El's ship blasting off into space, and we see that he was actually in space for a long time. Over a year. We'll say that. It gives you the exact period of time, but it's at least over a year. I'll give you that much.
And it is interesting to see. He wasn't in a stasis during this.
Right.
He's almost going insane with cabin fever.
Yeah,
my
notes say, I will say, it's not as peaceful of a trip as what we saw in the 1978 Christopher Reeve movie, where he like kind of grows up, and year 7, Jor-El's like narrating. It's not peaceful like that.
He's like in a fetal position, like pulling at his hair because he's going crazy.
So it's not a secret that he was not a baby when he arrived on Earth, because we saw that he grew up a little bit, at least for a while, on Krypton. I don't know the exact age. Maybe he was 10 or 12 or 13, something like that. So of course, when he gets to Earth, he's
he's a young adult. He's
in the earlier part of the teenage years, maybe 13 or 14, maybe even 15 is probably as far as I'd go. His time on the Kent farm, so that's one difference right there, where he was already kind of grown when he gets to the Kent farm, but he also doesn't adapt to it like he did in the original stories, right? So there's a lot of differences in his time on the farm here versus the main Earth, but there's also some similarities, most notably how loving and caring the Kents are toward him, because it is still John and Martha Kent that find him, and Martha Kent is still very, very loving to him. John Kent is a little bit more suspicious, but it's understandable why.
Yeah.
And when you see what happens and what it's like when he first arrives there, you'll understand. He's not mean or anything, but he's a little bit standoffish. He's like, I don't know,
That's
Martha.
also the difference of like a baby crash lands, or this young, pretty fit-looking guy landed.
Yeah.
You would be a little bit more like, okay, it would be a little harder to fight this guy off if something went bad.
Yeah, so, but they are still very loving towards him, and but his time on the farm, I will say, is he doesn't spend as much time there as he does in the main universe. He's not there as long. So I'm going to leave it at that, but something also that's very cool about this is we do learn more about the Lazarus Corporation, which, we've seen all throughout the series so far. But we see a little bit more of their technological capabilities in this. We see a little bit more of maybe kind of what they do when they don't get their way, that kind of thing. We see there was a little glimpse of the Kent farm in the very end of issue number 1, and now we see, or at least I'm pretty sure we see how it got that way in this. So that's cool. And obviously, I'm not going to spoil it, but there's a very surprising last couple pages where we see who is behind the Lazarus Corporation.
Yeah.
And it's a character we have not yet seen in the Absolute Universe.
Yeah, it was a big surprise. It's one of those surprises that you don't even like. It wasn't even a question I was asking until you revealed it, and then I go, maybe I should have been asking that question.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that, but now that we saw who it is, I'm like, yeah, okay, that's awesome, and I want to see more for sure. So yeah, this is a fantastic issue because since the beginning, how long was he on the farm, and did he even crash land in Kansas, and what was John and Martha's reactions like? We get all of that in here, and it's answers that I've been wanting for months. So we finally get that story. And I guess it's going to be like continued in the next issue before maybe a new story arc comes. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, that is what's weird about this, is this kind of fills in almost everything about a certain time period.
Yeah, we learn, I said that we learned more about the Lazarus Corporation. We also learn why maybe Kal-El has a bone to pick with the Lazarus Corporation, and why he travels the Earth trying to, step in when he sees the Lazarus Corporation interfering with the downtrodden. Like there's a reason for that, and we see all of that in here. It's so good. It's still my favorite of all the Absolute books. This is probably my pick of the week, if I'm being honest, just because I love that we're starting to get answers, and it was all done really well.
You do get a lot of really cool stuff too with his suit.
Yes.
That maybe expands even a little bit more upon what it's capable of doing and what its job is, all of that kind of stuff that is very, very cool.
When there's one panel where he first comes crawling out of the ship, and the way that the cape looks, or the dust, which is acting as his cape, the way that it looks in that panel, I'll leave it for you to see it, but it looks awesome. I mean, it was very symbolic for sure. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. So this is our A cover right here, and we got some cool variants. This is the Derek Chew variant, and we have this really nice Puppeteer Lee variant. I like him on that. He looks a little bit older, a little bit more buff and serious. I like that. And then we have this 1 in 25 Rod Rice variant that we're selling for $14.99.
Yeah, I feel like almost every issue of Absolute Superman is my new favorite issue of Absolute Superman.
Right, yeah.
But, I feel like every issue of the series so far has given us something interesting, something different, something to think about, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah, every issue, I'm still thinking about it when I'm done reading it. Yeah.
Okay, next up, this is one of the big ones. This is All New Venom number 5. And unfortunately, we just live in a time where spoilers cannot stay unspoiled. So you may have already seen the last page reveal of this. I opened my phone, and it was the first thing that came across one of my feeds.
Now, we're not going to tell you, just in case. I'm not going to tell you. Yeah, we're not going to spoil
because if for some chance you've avoided it, I want you to have the fun of experiencing that. Even though I saw this book for the first time on Friday, I was even going into it with an idea that someone had already maybe even spoiled it at that point. So very unfortunate there, because I would love for everyone to experience these books fresh for the first time when they read them. But all that being said, I thought this was a really fun issue. I do feel like some of this story, to say treading water sounds bad. It's not that, but we know that the big story in this is who is the all-new Venom. So there is other story parts going on. We've got the stuff going on with MODOK. We've got the stuff going on with Rick Jones, and he has the sleeper symbiote, which is all really cool in this. You do get some really interesting stuff with Rick Jones and finding out maybe how much does he even know about this suit that he has. Some really fun stuff with MODOK that is, once again, Carlos Gomez, a feast for the eyes. It is beautiful. It is really, really fun. But of course, the big thing about this is the big reveal about who is the all new Venom. And that being said, I do think I am now more excited about the series going forward because now we get to explore this idea and start moving into not like this big mystery, but okay, how is this Venom going to be going forward? And what are the stories we're going to be getting with that? Who is the villain they're going to be going up against? All of that, I think, now is more exciting because it opens the door to something else.
Yeah, because, for 5 issues, it's been who, and now we know who, and now the next thing is how and why did that happen?
Yeah.
So that's, to me, I'm excited to learn the next piece of this is like, oh, that's okay, sure, but now I probably have even more questions now than I did before,
about the reasons
Yeah.
that this would happen. So, very cool. Once again, the art is great. I've really been enjoying this series. If you can avoid spoilers, try to do that, but it is near impossible now that the cat's out of the bag. But enjoy it because it's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
So that is All New Venom number 5. And of course, we've got some variants for this that are. It's funny they were doing these. So let's see. So they had these variants by Clayton Crane. Yeah, that are like suspect variants. So I believe that one is this one's Luke Cage.
Yeah, and it's weird that they're doing these because these characters have already been ruled out.
Yeah.
So, I guess maybe they were just like, here's what it would have looked like if it had been Luke Cage, right?
I believe this is Rick Jones. Mm-hmm. It also kind of just looks like Peter Parker.
Right, yeah.
We have a Madam Mask. We have a Robbie Robertson. We also have this really cool Eric Larson variant, and I just like seeing Eric Larson draw Venom because he was such a architect.
I've never seen that. Yeah. Oh wait, Eric. I was thinking Kevin Eastman for some reason.
Yeah, Eric Larson.
Yeah.
We also have the final of these Kevin Coley variants. That is the M. So now you have spelled out Venom. What we can spell out next.
Do we still have any of the other ones? I want to lay them all out and see.
There is a spoiler cover, but I'm not going to show it. But I do really like this spoiler cover, and it's not like their face is front and center. It's actually a really clever, if you know, you know type thing that I saw and I was like, oh, and I had to explain to somebody. It's like, well, it's this because of this and all that, and I think it's actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
Which is by Colo. And then we have a 1 in 25 Dyke Ruin cover that we're selling for $19.99. It's also really nice. But yeah, now I have maybe even more questions, and I'm looking forward to getting answers as we go forward.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, because like I said, I have more questions now than I did before. So Lucy, you got some explaining to do, right?
I actually thought of that reference. And I thought, I don't know if that'll translate.
Right.
You got some explaining to do.
All right, next up we have I Was a Fashion School Serial Killer number 1. It's my pick of the week for the title alone. Sorry, Absolute Superman. This is written by Doug Wagner. The art is by Daniel Hilliard. And this is about a girl named Rennie Bethany. She is a wannabe fashion designer who was just accepted into a prestigious fashion school in New York City. So that's great news for her. Also, a fun fact about Rennie is that she is a serial killer.
Just a little about me.
Yeah, right? Put that in my profile on TikTok or whatever. So it kind of reminds me of Dexter a little bit in that she says that she has these uncontrollable urges to kill people, but she does try to aim those urges at bad people. We see that she starts to scratch herself when she's getting really anxious, wanting to kill somebody, right? So it is kind of Dexter in that way, but instead of being around crime scenes, she's in a fashion school learning about high fashion. So she is the kind of girl, because of her affliction, I guess, she wants to keep to herself. She just wants to keep her head down, go to fashion school, learn about fashion, and that's it. But That doesn't last long before she meets a girl named Sophie, who is very happy, very upbeat. She's very friendly to Rennie right off the bat. And eventually, and at first, Rennie's like, this isn't happening. No, I don't want any friends. But eventually, they do become friends because this story takes place over the course of probably at least a couple months, maybe 2 or 3 months or so. And so Rennie and Sophie do eventually become friends, more or less. And there's another girl at the school named Constance, and she is the typical spoiled rich girl that constantly gives Sophie a hard time for not having money. There's a bit in here where Sophie's phone goes off because she works for a DoorDash type food delivery service, and she does that to make money to pay for school. And Sophie gives her a hard time. She's like, you're poor and you don't have money like me. And she's always constantly, ragging on Sophie. So, I don't want to say where it goes, but I will say that, Rennie sure doesn't like how Constance treats Sophie, her friend. And so maybe she's going to get the urge to do something about it. I don't know. So one thing that's also really cool too, and this is there's kind of a running, I don't know if you'd call it a gag, but there's a constant thing in this where people keep telling Rennie, because Rennie only wears clothes that she makes herself, and she's very good at it too. She has all the she makes really nice seams and everything. She's good at it, and everybody keeps telling Rennie that they like the clothes that she's wearing, and they ask her. They say that's a unique material. Is that leather? And if you look at the cover, you might realize no, that's not leather. That might be something else that I guess she maybe treats to disguise it or whatever. But yeah, so it's kind of gruesome in that way as well. It's not overtly gory. Well, there's a couple things in the last page that maybe are, but throughout the book, there's a little bit of blood. It shows her in the past killing a couple people. Not overtly gory, and there is a little bit of something at the end though. But yeah, I just thought this was really cool. I was super intrigued by this when we first talked about it on Comics from the Future. I think it's a wildly unique concept, and yeah, I've just got to see, the big question is, will she graduate from fashion school? Like I got to find that out. So yeah, really cool. I recommend this if you're looking for something a little bit different. I really like this one a lot. So there's our A cover right here, and we have this really cool. Does this have the artist on it? It's just a Rolling Stone homage cover. Don't know if I should be showing that on YouTube.
I think that's the same artist. I think.
Oh yeah,
he does all of them.
Yeah, okay, yeah, because that is what the interior looks like, right? And then we have the yeah, this is Jay Lee. I don't have the. I think this is like maybe a 1 in 25. But we're selling for 18.99. And yeah, there you go. You can kind of see her jacket that she's wearing and what it's made out of. Now it doesn't look like this in the book. In the
Maybe
book,
a little too obvious.
yeah, in the book it looks like a black leather jacket or something. So that's what I was thinking. Maybe she treats it and paints it to make it look so not obvious. But yeah, really cool. I liked it a lot.
Well, another new number one. So saying there's so many number ones this
Yep.
week. We've got Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe one last time. So continuing in the long history that's been going on for quite a while of Cullen Bunn writing the Deadpool Kills series. We have our what is presumably the final part of this. So you had Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe, Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe like once again, Deadpool Illustrated, Deadpool kills every Deadpool. Like there's so many of these, and it kind of follows this one Deadpool, this one kind of version of Deadpool. So once again, this is written by Cullen Bunn and the artist by Dalibor Telejic, and I've read, I think, pretty much all of these. I really like Cullen Bunn writing Deadpool. He gives them some kind of added depth, and that is not lost here. So this Deadpool, who's been through all of this stuff, I mean, there's almost no one left. And he doesn't just do this because he's evil or anything. He basically finds out if he doesn't, like, certain people will cause, like, you know, great horrible things to happen,
Yeah.
and he's tasked with taking them out, even though they may be his friends or other heroes, that kind of stuff. And this Deadpool has been through so much of that like the world that he's in, where all this has happened, is like a wasteland almost. One hero does show up, and I didn't even like look him up. I assumed he was a real hero, but like it was like bargain basement.
It's always fun if you have to try to think is character
Yeah.
or not. Yeah.
Like one shows up And of course, he has to take them out too.
Yeah.
Like, and this Deadpool is pretty miserable. He's had to do all of this. He's lonely. The voices in his head that once kind of like kept him company are gone. They're silenced. Um, Basically, he sees what he does now is just like it's not really hard for him to do. He can, whatever superhero, whatever he has to take out, he knows kind of exactly what to do about them. He's taken out so many Spider-Men and so many different heroes that he's got it down to a science. But one day, someone new shows up.
Wait, so real quick, so this is kind of in continuity with the other.
Yeah.
They're not.
All of those have been in continuity.
Okay, I've never read any of them, so I didn't know if they were just like their own self-contained story. That's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, it is. It does make it a cool kind of running other version of Deadpool.
Yeah, okay.
That's not quite as cheerful as the main one. So someone shows up kind of out of nowhere and is basically like, Deadpool, I need you for this one job. And he's basically like, who do you need me to kill? Like, oh, sure, whatever. And they're like, you don't really understand the magnitude this time. And they're like, take this. They travel through a portal or whatever. And he soon learns that he wasn't the first Deadpool that was kind of offered this, but he may be their last resort, because he is now tasked with going across the multiverse and eliminating these threats that could cause basically the collapse of the multiverse. And what I did like about this, one, he's like, fine, whatever. Like, this is a not funny Deadpool, but it's understandable why. But it's not like, oh, we're getting, zany versions of other characters he has to hunt. No, these are ones that we've actually seen in comic series. I don't want to give too many away, but you do see characters like Frankencastle, the Rick Remender run where Punisher was brought back to life and he was like a Frankenstein. I think in the next issue we're going to be getting Capwolf.
Oh, nice.
I forgot what the technical name for him now is, but Hulk the World Breaker, whatever, the Gladiator version of Hulk, like those are all the versions he's going after, which are very like.
How's he gonna deal with that? I don't see that.
They're all very like. You can like be like, oh, that's from that run. Oh, that's from that run. Cool. Whenever characters slightly change.
Kind of makes me think of the Secret Wars Battle World books. It's like, oh, that from they're going back to Old Man Logan. They're going back to whatever.
So it's not like ones they just made up for nothing. Right, they're actually like real things.
That's kind of cool. Neat.
But what I do like about this is after so much, terribleness that has happened to this version of Deadpool, there may actually be some hope in this one that maybe this is not his life, and maybe what he's doing actually does equal up to something good. And that's what I like, because when you see this title, so much of it's like, oh, it's just going to be Deadpool killing people in different ways. It's like, no, there is actually something here that makes you root for this version of Deadpool. And I think it's cool. I'm excited about this one to kind of wrap up this story that's been going on for like 10 years now. But if you've never read those, you can just jump into this. It does kind of catch you up about everything this one's been through. But I really liked it. So that is Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe One Last Time, #1. I don't remember how many issues this is. I think most of these so far have been like 6 issues. So there is your A cover. We've got a Greg Land cover. This version of Deadpool is interesting too because you can see his eyes all the time. The pupil parts of the black within it is gone. You can see his eyes. So it almost is like how you differentiate this version of Deadpool. We have this Chad Hardin homage, which is an homage to the original Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe cover. We've got this really nice Dan Panosian cover. We've got a blank sketch cover. We've got this Lionel Francis Yu foil cover. Great homage to that Wolverine issue. I don't know what it's called. They've done this a couple of times. And lastly, we have a Nick Bradshaw 1 in 25 variant that we're selling for $12.99.
Okay, sorry, I'm just making some notes here. All right, so next up we have G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, Beachhead #1. So this is written and drawn by Phil Hester. This is 32 pages, and it's good that it's 32 pages because you need a little bit of extra pages because this has no dialogue whatsoever. So this is the first of the silent missions.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's what it says. The first of the silent missions kind of mini series, but it's not so much a mini series. Series of one shots really, and I think there's either 5 or 6 of them. And this is the first of them featuring Beachhead. So this is a nice callback to the original G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero #21, which was the silent interlude book. And so, yeah, no dialogue, all art. And this features Beachhead, and it jumps right into the action with this helicopter going down. And Beachhead is in it fighting some Cobra soldiers. They all fall out of the helicopter while it's crashing down. And obviously, that injures Beachhead quite a bit, but he's found by a mother and son who helped nurse him back to health. And over the course of several pages, you see the lengths that they go to. It's not like they just wrap him up with a towel or whatever. I mean, they have to go to some lengths to get the things that he needs in order to make him better. And so that takes place over the course of a few pages. Eventually, there are some more Cobra troops that learn where he is, and Beachhead has to fight them off while also protecting the mother and son because they find out that he's at their house, and that's where they go. And I don't know, this feels like it doesn't take place in the U.S. I feel like I think it's overseas. It doesn't really say where because again, there's no dialogue whatsoever. But yeah, so once he's patched up, the rest of the issue is just a whole bunch of action of him taking out these Cobra guys while also trying to protect the family that fixed him up. And I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean, there's not much more to it than that. We have 4 or 5 other ones with Roadblock and Duke, I think, and Jinx is the next one. I think it's next week. Yeah. I think these are weekly too, so we're gonna have one every week for the next 5 weeks or so. But yeah, not a whole lot else to it. I mean, it is really nice and action packed.
It's really a good read, even though there's no dialogue.
And I will say that even though there's no dialogue, I didn't zoom through it, and that's why I mentioned the page count because this is bigger than your typical 22-page book or whatever. But it will take you some time to kind of get through it and figure out exactly what's going on. So I mean, I spent a good amount of time with this, even though there's nothing to read.
And I really like Phil Hester's art on it.
Yeah. I like Beachhead,
Yeah, kind of his Green Arrow days, seeing that. I really like it.
Yeah, so it was really cool. So, and real quick, this is part of the G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero line, not part of the Energon universe. So it's not with the Transformers or anything like that. This is A Real American Hero. So we have our A cover right there, and we have this Jorge Fornes variant. And we have the black and white version. I think this may be a 1 in 10 black and white version of the A cover right there. We're selling that one for $8.99. And there is the this really cool. I think this is a 1 in 25. It's the Jorge Fornes cover, but it's not acetate or anything, but it's like a sort of a. It's got a bit of a matte foil on it with the G, but with the cover on the inside of the G. But it's all one piece, right? You don't open it and see the rest of the cover. It's not like that. But yeah, it's really well done, and we're selling that one for $19.99.
I really like this because I always really like Beachhead.
Yeah,
he was always one of my favorite characters. So it's cool to see him as pretty much the only hero in this thing.
And it's cool to see him in this much action because normally in G.I. Joe he's like a trainer.
Yeah.
So to see him go to do this much on his own is really cool.
Okay, next up I've got another new #1. This is a new DC Black Label book. I'm not sure how many issues this is going to end up being. But this is really cool. This is Resurrection Man Quantum Karma #1. This is by Ram V and the artist by Anando RK. And I really like Resurrection Man. If you're not familiar with him, he did have a run, kind of an older run, but the most recent thing I think he had was the New 52 Resurrection Man series, and that's kind of where I got introduced to him. But if you don't know, his name's Mitch Shelley. He kind of falls in line with more of your Justice League Dark type characters. And his power, per se, is he resurrects. So every time he dies, he comes back to life. But when he comes back to life, he has a new power that is somewhat based off of the way he died. So the examples they give is if he fell out of an airplane, maybe he would come back with the ability to fly. Or if he was electrocuted, he would come back with electric powers. Or you can kind of guess about that. If he gets shot, he would come back. Maybe he'd have bulletproof skin.
If he got electrocuted, he should just come back as rubber.
Yeah, that is true.
So that he can't get electrocuted. Yeah.
You never know. And then he always has to maybe solve a mystery or do something like that. Well, this is what I like about the Black Label books is it kind of takes one of those concepts and expounds upon it to maybe a deeper level. So in this one, Mitch Shelley, he's kind of given up the superhero game years ago and just decided to settle down and have a life. So because of that, he's not really in, the line of fire anymore. And when it starts, he is dying peacefully, kind of from natural causes. He's older, he's surrounded by family and friends and all of that. So what happens when Resurrection Man, the man who dies and comes back based on the way he died, what happens when he dies of natural causes? Well, that's what we're going to learn in here as, yes, he does come back, but not immediately. I think classically he would like burst out of a grave or something like that. But in this, he finds himself in somewhat of an afterlife where it's a very interesting world with a sort of Dante's Inferno Virgil guide character there that I won't give away who it is, but is a very cool idea. And what is his mission now that this has happened? What is his new thing? Because also when he would come back, he would have a purpose or kind of a thing that I've got to do this. Well, what is it now? And it may be on a grander scale than just finding out who killed him before or some mob people or something like that. It's a very kind of spiritual level thing he has to do. But that's not all, because there is some conflict in this, because we are introduced back to a previous life that he had. And the other thing is, he's been resurrected so many times that he's kind of forgotten about some of his previous lives. But when he comes back this time, he remembers every second of every life that he's had. And once again, he remembers something that happened back around World War II. There was a sadistic World War II internment camp commander who, because of Mitch Shelley and something about him, I won't give it away, has gained a twisted version of the Resurrection Man powers. And seems like maybe he is got some dastardly deeds in mind. So I don't want to give too much away, but it is very interesting. It is a very artsy kind of book, if you know what I mean. It's especially the afterlife, very ethereal. It's something that you wouldn't get as much in your traditional superhero comic. It can kind of explore the artistic realm of an idea like this. I thought was really, really cool. I will say that I think every issue of this begins with a one-page thing by Butch Geis, which I really like.
It looks great, yeah.
It is very like DC Who's Who type page. It's a way more traditional like 70s or 80s superhero page with like who is this character. It gives you his bio and all of that. And each issue is going to have one of those in a really cool way. You even get a kind of an idea of what the next issue's about at the end of this one. But this is a really cool Black Label book. I hope everyone checks out and doesn't sleep on just because maybe you don't recognize the character or whatever. But if you like the Black Label style storytelling, you're definitely going to like this. So there is your A cover. We also have, this is the Anon Arcade. So that is your interior artist. And it doesn't always look that kind of dreamy, but that's kind of the coloring you get in this and everything. We also have this really cool Dan Panosian variant. And that is it for Resurrection Man. Until he resurrects in issue number 2.
Next up, we have Pastime number 1. This is a new book from Mad Cave. I think it's going to be a 5-issue series written by Joe Harris and the artist by Russell Olson. And most of this issue is set in Nebraska in 1923, and it's centered around a man named Henry Hayes, who we are told could have been the greatest baseball player of all time. Um, However, within the first couple of pages, this is not a spoiler, it happens at the very beginning. We see him murdering somebody in a cornfield, but we don't really know why yet. I'm assuming we'll learn more about that later on in the series. And he hears the police approaching already, so he runs through the cornfield to get away, and he stumbles upon a baseball game that is being played by two teams in this barnstorming circuit, which is not the major leagues. They describe as like kind of guys who weren't quite good enough to do that, or kind of washouts and everything like that. But it's actually a traveling league that travels around, and he's confused by this because it's nighttime, and he's confused. How is this game even being played at night? Because that wasn't a thing until that happened in the major leagues until 1935, which I totally knew and did not have to Google myself. But yeah, again, this was 1923, and they're playing baseball at night. Nobody's ever seen that before. So he hides behind a tree and he watches the whole game. And afterwards, he meets this blind man named Ronald who helps out with one of the teams that was playing in the game. And Ronald tells Henry that he knows that the cops are looking for him, but he's not going to turn him in. And that's a decision that may come back later, that may be beneficial to. It's not going to come back to bite him. It's actually a good thing for Ronald later in the book that he didn't do that. So that all sounds pretty simple. But there's a whole other element to this story that's hinted at in the pretty heavily hinted at in the solicitations, and also there's some clues in this first issue, but it's not overtly addressed yet. And but it's also not a spoiler to tell you. So we're told that Henry could have been one of the greatest baseball players of all time, but there's a reason that he can't play during the day. And if you look at the title on the cover and you see those real sharp, pointy things, and maybe there's some blood on the baseball, maybe you realize, oh, I understand why Henry cannot play in the daytime, but maybe he'll be able to play at night. And I think maybe that's where this series is partly going to go anyway. Is he's going to start following this league around to the different cities they go to because he loves baseball and he can see them play at nighttime, which is safe for him. So yeah, this was a really cool issue. A lot of this is just like you actually see a lot of the baseball game, but there's some darker stuff here, and Henry has a dark past that we don't know much about yet, but I'm sure we're going to learn. So a really cool new miniseries. Again, if you're looking for something a little bit different to read, definitely don't miss this because I really like this and the mysteries they set up and what's going on with Henry. Like I really want to know more about that. So there's our A cover right there, and we have this shoot. Oh, I was gonna look at the. This is from Adam Polina. That's another variant right there. And we have this 1 in 10. I don't have the artist on this one, but we're selling this one for $49.99. And yeah, maybe that gives you another little clue. There's no like weird talking baseballs in this though, but yeah. But yeah, that logo right there gives you a clue as to what's going on with Henry. I like this one a lot.
Can't wait till he teams up with Super Pro.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Build a team of super powered sports people. Okay, next up is Marvel Rivals #1. This is actually just a one-shot by Paul Allor and Luca Claretti. This originally came out as a Marvel Unlimited digital comic. So you may have already read this if you have the Marvel Unlimited app. But this all collected all those parts. I forgot how many chapters it was.
Like I think it was 6.
6? Yeah, kind of short chapters all collected in one, because this is a little bit oversized. And this gives you some of the story beats for Marvel Rivals that maybe you don't pick up while playing the game. So, it's narrated by Galactica.
Galactica?
Galacta. Yeah, the girl Galactus.
Yeah.
It's narrated by her, who also, of course, narrates in the game and everything. And we see a little bit more about, the story of why the heroes are fighting. I know you get some of it in the game, but in this, you learn about Peter Parker and Penny Parker, who is, has the mech suit and everything, why they're at odds about kind of what to do about the web of life and what's happened with it and its kind of incursion it's had with these other worlds. But most of this issue is the different characters fighting. And you get them kind of bantering back and forth as they fight. There's not a big storyline in this that goes across the whole thing. It's mostly about, oh, here's now this character that you can play as, and this character, and what they do, and it's cool seeing the different maps that you know from the game, but seeing it in the comic. And I think one of the best parts is I love the character design of Marvel Rivals. To see those translated into a comic, like I love the Wolverine, who's just big. He's got the jacket on and everything. He's in this, and there's characters that show up at the end that are not spoilers now about who's in the game, but you see some of the post launch characters show up at the end, which is really really fun. But this is of course just a one shot, so you can get this and get caught up on maybe why Spider-Man is punching Wolverine or whatever while you play the game.
You mean why he's doing it this week?
Yeah. This week, yeah. Yeah. So there is your A cover. We also have this Sabatini variant. And we have this Warren variant as well.
All right, well, I've got Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur, the 10th anniversary special. This is a one-shot that's celebrating the 10th anniversary of Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. There's two different stories in this one. The first one is called HBD, or Happy Birthday, because they are celebrating Moon Girl's 10th birthday. This is written by Brandon Montclair. The art is by Natasha Bustos. And in this one, Moon Girl gathers a group of heroes together to fight the Impossible Man, on her 10th birthday. And, they don't know what she's like. She wants Captain America's shield, and she wants the Ultimate Nullifier, and they don't know why she wants it, but they do find out eventually because the Impossible Man. The probably the larger story in this is called Devil Girl and Moon Dino. This is written by Justina Ireland, and the artist by Luca Claretti. And this is the first appearance of Devil Girl and Moon Dino. And there's a variant cover with them in a second. And Devil Girl is the great great granddaughter of Moon Girl. So this story is actually set in the future. It takes place decades after the Dissension, where Earth is basically a wasteland. So we kind of had that in the Daredevil book, but it's a little bit different. And Devil Girl is on Earth. She breaks into this rundown robotics lab to look for a part that she needs to finish her time dilation device so that she can go back in time to try to find her mother. And she does find the part that she's looking for, but it's not as easy as she might think it is. And there is someone or something watching her that she might have to deal with, because maybe she's stealing from somebody who you shouldn't steal from. So yeah, it was really cool. I actually like that second story. I like the new Devil Girl, the new Moon Dino. I think it has a name, but I don't remember it. But yeah, so if you're a fan of either of these characters, this is just a one shot. You can pick this up and read it, and it's a lot of fun. So there's our A cover right here. There is the Bustos variant, her celebrating her birthday. And then here is your Devil Girl and Moon Dino variant from Ramcharon.
It's more like a pterodactyl or something.
That's right. Yeah, she does ride him and flies around.
Cool.
And he shoots lasers or something out of his eyes. It's really cool. And then we have this nice 1 in 10 design variant that we're selling for $9.99. I really like that design for both of them. It does, that the story they're in does kind of wrap up, but it's one of those the end.
Yeah.
I don't know. So maybe we'll see them again later. But yeah, this is both of these characters' first appearance in this book.
I've got a one shot from Marvel. This is Concert of Champions #1. This is written by Jason Liu, and the artist by Rafael Loriro and Riri Coleman. I'm sure I said those perfect. So this is cool. This is, if you read the Dazzler miniseries from a few months ago, this is kind of like a sequel one-shot to that. Not that you had to have read it, but it does reference, and it does have one of those see Dazzler 1 through 4 or whatever from this year. But in this, we actually start off with Gwen, Spider-Gwen, Go Spider, as she sees a billboard for this Concert of Champions. This big concert. It's not like a multiversal concert. It's just bringing the Marvel Universe's biggest kind of hero musicians together for a kind of festival type concert. So, of course, you've got Luna Snow, you've got Lila Cheney, and, of course, Dazzler. Also, Dupe is there. Dupe has his own band. He's one of the smaller names on there, which I thought was really fun. So Gwen's like, things have been crazy. I'm gonna go to this concert because, of course, she likes music. She plays drums, all of that. Then we cut to Dazzler, who, of course, Dazzler always comes across as like perfect. People love her. She's kind. She's talented. All of that. Even though Luna Snow has a little problem with her, which is kind of interesting in this. But we do soon learn once Dazzler goes back to her bus, her tour bus, that she's been wearing a wig and her hair's falling out because of the stress of everything that's happened even back in the other Dazzler series. I don't know if she's pulling her hair out or if it's just falling out because of stress, because she's had assassination attempts, anti-mutant protests, tabloid scandals, a hard breakup, all this stuff. So immediately this one shot turns kind of serious. I'm like, this is really rough for her, but she has to put on this brave face. But when an unexpected band with kind of a darker edge than all of the other groups rolls in who were not booked on the thing, they have their own tour bus that opens up and turns into a stage. Arrives. Their name is Deep Void. And of course, this is going to be a problem because it seems like they've got more nefarious plans. And why does all their songs sound like they're doing a summoning spell? So it's going to be up to all our heroes to come together. But really, what's nice is this kind of story about initially Luna Snow thinks Dazzler's being a jerk because she's not showing up to some of her meet and greets and all that. But soon we all learn what's going on. I thought it was really fun. Not for everybody, of course. It's very much in the feel of the Dazzler series from before. But I like seeing these concerts and all the different bands and who's members of them and all of that kind of stuff. I thought was really fun. It's not quite like this on the cover where they're all performing together and all the heroes are in the audience. They're just regular people in the audience. But
I really wanted to see. I wanted to see Ghost Rider.
I know,
in the audience,
headbanging or something. But yeah, I thought this was a fun one shot that just kind of continues the story of what's going on with Dazzler right now. So there is your A cover, and we have this really nice Talavera Dazzler variant as well.
All right, I've got Ironheart Bad Chemistry #1. This is a one shot. This is $4.99, but it's 40 pages. I just thought that was really cool. You don't normally see that. This is written by John Jennings and the art is by Jethro Morales. And this acts as kind of a follow up to the Ironheart story from the Marvel Voices Free Comic Book Day 2023 issue. Wow. Because the villain from that issue named Kim, this is only their second appearance in this. Kim has stolen the Philosopher's Stone from a museum, and it's a stone that can transmute elements, and was actually once used by Diablo against the Fantastic Four way a long time ago. I think back in the Silver Age of the Fantastic Four. And Kim is working with one Iron Man villain, but she has a personal connection to another Iron Man villain. So that was pretty cool to see all of that backstory. And a lot of this issue is Ironheart trying to track down, trying to find out where Kim is and stop her, what she's trying to do. And I mean that's pretty much it. I don't want to spoil if she's successful or not. But yeah, just a one shot if you're probably to get us ready for the Ironheart TV series that's coming out in a couple months. So we haven't had anything with her in a while. She's popped up in the pages of Iron Man, but not that much. So if you're hankering for a new Ironheart story, then this is a brand new one for you. So that's our A cover right there. We have this Mateus variant. And we have this Elaine variant. And we have this 1 in 25 Godtail variant that we're selling for $34.99. That's got some really nice colors on it.
Yeah, that's nice.
Try and get focus there, yeah.
Real quick, I wanted to mention that Pop Kill issue #2 came out. Of course, this is the series about the warring soda pop brands that are ruthless, run by two brothers that just hate each other and want to sabotage the other one. Written by Jimmy Palmiotti. And in this, and Dave Johnson as well, who did this cover. In this one, John, are kind of James Bond-like character who works for one of them, has found a scientist who she developed the formula for making carbonation last even longer. And now that's the thing that both companies really want. and he's trying to convince her to switch sides when in her apartment is the door gets kicked down and some people from the place she's working for uh, come in and basically shoot up the place and they are on the run trying to get out of there because they'd rather no one have the formula than it fall into the wrong hands. It's just another great crazy idea story, but with a really cool kind of like spy espionage, one business against the other one. There's a great part where you see because the buildings that the brothers who run the soda companies are like they can see each other.
Yeah.
Because of the buildings, and you wonder what one of them's doing because he's just like has a bunch of sticky notes, and then you see from the other guys, and he just like spells stuff out across their windows and sticky notes because they know they spy on each other with binoculars. It's really really fun. But yeah, issue number 2 of that came out. There's your A cover. And we also have this Chiarello variant as well.
All right, well, I've got Secret Six number 2, and I don't have many notes on this because I just read this right before we started recording, but this picks up right where the last issue left off, where Dreamer and John Kent and Jay Nakamura and Black Alice have come through Catman's dreams to where I thought that Catman and Deadshot were there together, but that's not right. Catman was there by himself.
Yeah.
And Deadshot came with him. I didn't pick up on that in the last issue. But I'll tell you what, most of this issue is this right here. They actually do all come to blows with each other.
Which makes sense for this one. Because, a lot of things are like, oh, heroes fighting heroes.
Yeah.
With this crowd,
yeah,
it completely makes sense why they're all kind of at each other's throats.
Yeah, and that's what most of
Black Alice. She's a real, like, the thing she says to Jay is like, you are asking.
Yeah, that's not cool, Black Alice. So yeah, a lot of this issue is just them fighting. Catman is very upset with Dreamer for, like she basically knocks him out for a good portion of the issue. I will say that Catman in this looks cooler than I've seen Catman look in a long time. There's one panel where he looks like,
he's got that new cape with the collar, and he's like looming over them all and stuff. Like, and especially like he's a loose cannon.
Yeah, for sure.
When he says like he'll attack even with his mouth. He will bite you.
Dreamer does have a dream in this that Amanda Waller regains all of her memories. So it was just a dream. I don't know if it's going to come true or not, but that would be really bad if it did. But maybe to some people it wouldn't be so bad. So there's a little bit of a juxtaposition where maybe some folks want her to get her memory back and some folks don't. And that's going to be a really nice contrast throughout the series. So yeah, if you like the first issue, I thought this one was probably even better, or at least as good, because we do get Catman and Deadshot in this now, and they're both awesome. Like I'm on board for the series. I like it a lot. So there's our A cover right there, and we have this Larix variant. I like the way they all look there. And then we have this Ariel Olivetti variant with Black Alice and Dreamer.
Yeah, like I thought this did a good job of being like, these are not nice people. Even John Kent in this, I don't know if it's just because the people he's hanging out with, they're like, are you supposed to be the nice one or whatever? He's like, you caught me on a bad day.
Yeah, not today.
Like I was like, that's kind of cool. Like, I like how this feels like a, almost a Suicide Squad or like how Secret Six should be where, they're a team, but also they're at each other's throats the whole time. Real quick, I want to mention that Teen Titans Go issue number 2 is out. This is a really fun issue as Cyborg has gone missing, and it's up to Robin, who now is super excited that he gets to play detective and takes it very seriously, is going to interview the last 3 people who saw Cyborg, which is, of course, Raven, Beast Boy, and Starfire. And, of course, then he suddenly turns into, like, this third party that's like, I don't trust any of y'all, or the stories you're telling, and they all give their rendition of the last time they saw Cyborg. And it, of course, varies wildly, as one of them is Atrocitus, the Red Lantern, shows up with Dexstar and steals Cyborg away. One of them is, of course, it's Beast Boy, and suddenly he is in his underwear, and the entire Justice League is laughing at him. It's really, really fun. and you'll have to read to find out actually what happened to Cyborg, and it might be actually something kind of sinister. So, really fun issue of Teen Titans Go, and we only have the one cover. And just a reminder, this book is $2.99.
Oh, nice.
So, if you need any other reasons to check it out, it's fun, it's funny, and it's $2.99.
That's a bargain. All right, I've got Godzilla Heist number 2, and in this one, the beginning of this issue is great because they draw Godzilla to London because they're trying to break into the Ministry of Defense. But in London they have the big London Eye, the big giant Ferris wheel, and it starts with this nice couple in the car of the Ferris wheel, and they're having a great time on their date. Godzilla rises up out of the water, two hands the Ferris wheel, and chucks it. Just throws it behind him. Yeah, and so I guess they're probably dead after that. I'm not sure, but so the whole issue basically is Godzilla trampling through London, just stepping on everything, chasing Jai, who is the guy who can control Godzilla, or who cannot control him, but lure him to where he wants him to go. And Jai and his crew are in a helicopter, so they are leading Godzilla where they want him to go. There's a couple hiccups along the way, but things mostly stay on track. And they get to where they want him to be, and I'm assuming the next issue is when they're actually going to use Godzilla to blast open the extremely secure vault. And of course, we do see again what's in that vault, and when that vault gets blasted open, that's going to be cool to see. What happens after that. So yeah, just another really cool issue. The Godzilla books are great, and this one is a pretty unique premise. I like this a lot. And this is our only cover we have.
And real quick, I want to mention a new Spawn Universe book came out. This is Black Ritual, the Book of Nyx, #1. This is a 7-issue miniseries written by Thomas Healy, and the art's by Nat Jones. And this was a little difficult for me to fully understand because I need to go back and read Spawn issue 184, because this leads directly out of that issue.
That was decades ago.
I know. I mean, we're way past 300 at this point. So yeah, after Spawn issue 184, where Nyx helped Cyan with something that was going on. I think that maybe that's when Al Simmons was dead, or he wasn't around, and there was the other Spawn. I don't quite remember. Nyx, they basically say, thanks for the help, but you can't stay here. You cause too much trouble.
No.
And so she heads out on her own. Now, the thing you got to remember is we know that Nyx becomes the Queen of Hell. And this is the story that we, the next time we saw her in Spawn, she was the Queen of Hell. And how did she get here? Well, this is that story. And from the end of issue 1, I mean, she's alone on the road. So it's kind of hard to figure out how she's going to get there, but it'll be interesting to see over the course of 7 issues how she goes from, walking the streets to Queen of Hell. So yeah, really cool. There are variant covers for it, but I just have the A cover right here.
You can check the website though.
Yeah.
And they should be up there. All right, well, I've got the Lucky Devils #3, and this one, Rake and Collar, who are the two devils in this book, they continue to improve Star and Cam's lives. That's the humans whose lives they're trying to improve. They continue to do so, and by improving the lives of those humans, they improve their own status in hell. And this time they use the sin of gluttony to do it. Every issue is a different sin. And Rake and Collar are successful in moving up the next rung of the ladder in the Society of Demons, or whatever you would want to call it. But the next step that they reach in this issue, comes with more regulations that Collar was not aware of, and he doesn't really like it. So he does something drastic, which may come back to bite them both. But right now they don't think it's a big deal. But yeah, so it'd be interesting to see, what happens with them. And, Star and Cam are starting to realize, hey, everything is going great for me right now, but who am I becoming? What am I doing? This doesn't seem like me. So they're kind of starting to clue in a little bit as to, maybe the way they got to where they are isn't quite so noble. So, maybe more to come with that. But we have our A cover right here. And we have this Trad Moore variant. And we have a 1 in 25 Trad Moore variant. Wait, does that have the... Oh, that's... So this is a 1 in 25 variant. It's a foil variant. But there's
Some dialogue.
there's some dialogue right there that's not on this cover. That's what I just noticed.
Yeah, it's interesting.
It is still the demon kind of behind her, but yeah, star, you'll never be loved is what it says. So yeah, really cool. We're selling that one for 20. No, I'm sorry, $49.99.
Except for me, I have Hyde Street issue number 5. Just going to mention this one quickly. This is one of the most disturbing issues of Hyde Street so far, which is saying something because this is the kind of secret origin of Miss Goodbody, who we were introduced to in the Devour one shot. So you kind of already know her deal, but she may be one of the most cruel, like how she found her way onto Hyde Street is one of the most cruel people yet. You'll have to read it to find out. This also does have guest art by Francis Portela, and I thought it was fantastic and just, wow, they're really some terrible people on Hyde Street. But there is some connective tissue because Mr. X-Ray does show up to her shop, and you'll have to find out what happens then. But
he wants to lose weight, just like the lady in Devour did.
Yeah, there's maybe a battle coming between the residents of Hyde Street. So yeah, very cool issue. There's your A cover. We have a Portela variant, so this is your interior artist. And we have a Layla Lee's cover, who was the artist on the Devour
That's right, yeah.
one shot.
All right, I've got Moon Knight, Fists of Khonshu number 7. Just wanted to mention this one super quick because it's not like slapstick funny. It's a little funny though. Moon Knight wants Hank Pym's help in synthesizing a drug that can counter the effects of glitter, which is the street drug that they've been dealing with throughout this whole series. But Hank Pym has been living in a subatomic world, and they don't know how they can get to him to ask him for his help. So 8-Ball gives Moon Knight the idea for at least some of Moon Knight's crew, Soldier and Reese, and I think Hunter's Moon and 8-Ball, they all dress up as supervillains, and they call themselves the Pool Party. And they attack Hank's daughter, Nadia, the Unstoppable Wasp, in order to draw Hank out. So it's kind of a reverse Thunderbolt situation. They disguise themselves as villains. And then, of course, there is a pretty cool bit all at the end, when Hank Pym does return, because there's a lot of there's some unrequited, what do you call it, like tension between Hank Pym and Tigra because of their past, and Moon Knight is with Tigra now. Yeah, point. Right. So just another really cool, like, I feel like this is the most slept on book from Marvel. This is such a phenomenal series, and not enough people are talking about it, is what I meant. So yeah, it's super good. So if you're reading it, don't miss out on this one because it's really cool. There's an A cover right there. I like this one from Dan Panosian, where it looks like 8-Ball is going to hit Moon Knight with a pool ball. I like that a lot. And then we have this Gia Russo connecting variant. So we have the M's and the N's, I guess. You got Moon Knight, North Star.
Line up right with M's on M. Because I feel like some of them don't have the correct letter for the character.
Yeah, so yeah, I was trying to see.
It's MN, so you got Moon Knight, Nightcrawler, North Star.
And it's a wraparound too.
Mystique.
So yeah, Mystique and a Nightmare, Namorita, really
Mysterio.
Cool. Yeah.
Want to mention that Let This One Be a Devil number 2 is out this week. And yeah, I didn't get a chance to read this as in depth as I wanted to, but continues the story of the Jersey Devil. Just really cool, great art in this. Really, really fun. If you like James Tynion and horror, you don't want to miss this one.
Oh, sorry. All right, I've got X-Men number 14, and just wanted to talk about this real quick. Ryan Stegman is back on art on this one, so that's really cool. And Piper Cobb, who is the young girl from the town near where the X-Men's base are in Alaska, she a few issues ago, she went to the X-Men because she thought she was a mutant, but they found out that she isn't. That was revealed several months ago. Well, she goes missing, and the X-Men are asked to help find her, and they obviously, yes, we absolutely will help. But it's not a simple case of a kid just running away. It actually involves the group 3K, which has kind of been the looming threat throughout this whole series. And it appears that they are about to launch a full-scale assault on the X-Men. And I kind of wonder if it maybe is the start of the 3K gene bomb, the little event or whatever it's called that was teased in the Time Slide book.
Yeah.
There was that big like stone tablet or whatever it was, and it had all these things, and at the very bottom was 3K gene bomb. And I don't know for sure, but this might be the start of that. I don't know for sure though. And it also involved is a little known character that we haven't seen in over 30 years.
Wow.
So I actually had to go back and look and see when was the last time that character even popped up. So yeah, just I'm loving this run of X-Men. Like it's so good, and this issue is no different. So there's our A cover right there, and we have a couple of incentives. We have a 1 in 50 Giarusso variant that we're selling for $39.99, and that's like a pencil art variant. We also have another 1 in 50 variant from Chul Lee that we're selling for $39.99 with Cassandra Nova.
Wanted to mention real quick that Plague House #1 came out from Oni Press. Did not get a chance to read it. It looks really cool. I know the kind of the premise about this maybe haunted house that these ghost hunters go into to figure out a murder that happened there. But maybe it turns out that the ghosts and the spirit stuff is kind of like a plague and can spread. So I'm looking forward to reading this, but I did not get a chance to read it yet. But there's your A cover for that.
And the last one for me is Justice League, the Atom Project #4. I only got a chance to briefly go through this one, but most of this issue is Captain Atom fighting Major Force, and it's always a good time when those two slug it out. But I will say that it does have a pretty surprise ending, and also in this book, and the solicitation told us this was coming, is that Inferno kind of makes themselves known to the Atom Project, because apparently they've been watching this whole time, which is interesting now that we know who Inferno is, thanks to Justice League Unlimited #5. Now in this, they're still cloaked, so if you haven't read that, you won't know who they are in this. But it's cool that they are a big presence in the Justice League Unlimited book, and now they're actually showing up in this too. So I think that's really interesting as the Atoms still try to figure out how to fix everybody's broken powers. So there's our A cover right there, and this is the Mark Spears variant.
Well, kind of the last one for me is a Star Wars Hyperspace Stories: The Bad Batch Ghost Agents #2. Not a whole lot to say about this one, but it is really fun as the Bad Batch are still on their mission trying to track down this person that stole very important information for the Republic, and they got to get it back before it falls into the wrong hands. But in this one, they do run up against a red lightsaber wielding foe. So who is it? You have to read it to find out. But I thought it was really fun. So there is your A cover for that. And we have this really nice crosshair variant as well.
Oh, that's cool.
Really like that. And lastly, just want to mention that Ultimate X-Men #14 came out. I read it. Once again, I didn't really understand what was going on, but a character that was teased on the cover of a issue quite a few issues ago,
it was a long time ago,
does show up in this one. So this kind of felt like maybe it wraps up one of the stories, but we'll see what happens in the next one. But yeah, issue #14 came out, and there are variants again, but I only have the A cover right here. Ooh, and that is it for our early comic review video. Hopefully you found some stuff in here, some nuggets of knowledge that you can use when you head into your local comic book store, or you head over to infinityflux.net and you decide what books you want for this week, because there's a lot to consider and a lot of great ones, especially the ones we do at the top of the show. Those are always kind of the big heavy hitters of the week. So once again, head up there while supplies last, because some of these,
they will not. Yeah,
Absolute Green Lantern. I'm sure we're gonna run out of that. Just some great ones this week. So until next time, which is Wednesday.
Wednesday is our next episode of our Infinity Flux Letters page live stream. So don't miss that. Come and chat with us.
We got a lot to talk about just with now that we have these Absolute Books out. There's been some announcements about different stuff. But as always, leave us your comments. Let us know what you want to talk about, and we will make sure to do that. So until next time.
See ya.
I want to keep you.
Yeah.
Bye.